problemów technicznych, ale na szczęście się udało w końcu zadziałać wszystko. Wracamy do gry. Dobra, to jak to ma teraz wyglądać? O, udało się. Widzę, że niestety problem jest taki, że nadal stream lekko ścina, ale to jest związane z tym, że w sumie, nie wiem, z czym to jest związane, overloadu już nie ma, natomiast encoding nie potrafi wyciągnąć 60 klatek na sekundę. Które to potrzebne by były, żeby to było właśnie takie 60-klatkowe doświadczenie. Próbowałem właśnie coś z tym zrobić i niestety problemy techniczne wiązały się właśnie z tym, że nie dałem rady tego rozwiązać. Zobaczmy w ogóle, jaka to za wiadomość. I've relayed your responses to my friends and they have reached certain conclusions regarding your character. Would you like to hear them? Now, you're new. Let me fill you in. Your arrival marks the moment of New Jerusalem's maturity, and these are differences of opinion about... there are differences of opinion about what it ought to become. Naturally, there are people working quietly behind the scenes in an advisory capacity, trying to guide our city to prosperity. People who know things which would only scare or confuse the average citizen. I have 5 such friends who expressed to me their interest in getting to know you. Who are these people? I can't yet tell you their names, but I can tell you a little about them. The first is an engineer by trade, tends to see the world as a puzzle to be solved. The second is a scholar of some repute, thinks the big questions have answers in our code. The third is, well, it's hard to pin down, a practitioner, let's say, of the esoteric arts. The fourth is a member of the political establishment. And the fifth, well, the less I say about them, the better for everyone. So is there someone you think would make a good match? The engineer. Yes, based on what you've told me, I say you share the same faith in the potential of human reason. Your answers to my questions and our observations of your behavior elsewhere has given us a massive amount of data. It's clear there's only one person that I should put you in touch with. You've shown a commitment to specific progress and pursuit of the truth. Your support would mean a great deal to my friend from engineering. She's no kind of expert on the human condition, but she's dedicated to analyzing how the world works and using that knowledge to shape our future for the better. Are you happy for me to put you in touch? Zobaczmy, co się stanie, jak powiem no, I wanted someone else. Oh, that might be, but no one else wants you. It's perfectly clear what kind of person you are. You may not like it, but I advise you to explore it. Would you like me to connect you or not? Yes, please do. Okay, I'll send an introduction in due course. The achievement. Placement. Może w ogóle prawidłowym rozwiązaniem byłoby streamowanie w 30 klatkach na sekundę, a nie 60. Doganiam cię na streamie, na PC mi się tnie, ale na mobilu ładnie chodzi. To ciekawe, że się gdziekolwiek tnie, bo już w sumie nie powinno. Chyba że mobilna apka Twitcha właśnie sama ogranicza FPS-y do 30. Nie, to nie jest wina internetu twojego, na pewno. To jest wina tego, że to jest wymagająca gra. A, tam jest. Możemy zrobić takie wiksy, jak tutaj mogę. No nie specjalnie. Czy to są w ogóle wszystkie rzeczy, które mamy do dyspozycji? Aha, dobra, już wiem. Chodzi o to, że trzeba ten... A nie. Zapomniałem, że thrillerów nie można zabierać przez własną dziurę. Ajajaj. Wow. Da się. Da się. Nie wiem, czy to był jakiś cheese, czy nie.
You know something that's weird about these puzzles? They're not replicas of the simulation puzzles, like the ones in the museum.
Wasn't there an artist who did an exhibition a few years ago that involved new puzzles of some kind? That was Barzai. It was called Trials of an Imagined Past. I tried to get you to come along. You thought it would be boring. Were they similar? No, not at all. Was it boring? I thought it was interesting.
Na razie, co by nas interesowało po tej stronie. A my może w ogóle tutaj przejść. No w ogóle tutaj chcemy to przeprowadzić. A, bo jak tutaj wyjdziemy, to już będziemy mieli ten dodatkowy konektor. Tak to niestety nie zadziała. A, no tak. Jestem głupi. Już konektory można przełączać przekładać przez dziury drillerów. Wydaje mi się, że teraz potrzebuję zrobić to tak. Sukces.
Any progress on the particle clouds, Melville? It's pretty clear they're integral to how all of this functions.
I've gathered a lot of data, but I still have a lot of numbers to crunch before I can give you an answer. And I can't guarantee that my answer won't be another question. I'm glad we don't get headaches.
Wpadłem na pomysł, co jeszcze mogę zrobić ze streamem, tylko niestety problem jest taki, że nie mogę się tym zająć teraz, bo... Tak, bo jak mam włączony stream, to mogę tylko w danym momencie... Tylko jak mam wyłączony stream, to mogę zmieniać to, w jakiej rozdzielczości jest wysyłany do do serwisów streamingowych. Na razie graj sobie spokojnie. No, zamierzam. To jest głównie dla mnie.
While exploring the forest, I came across a sight of primal force. A beautiful stag, standing on a hill silhouetted against the setting sun. It appeared like a messenger from some divine natural power, perhaps from Gaia herself. Even to a being such as myself, less susceptible to manipulation by instincts and hormones, it was clearly a moment of revelation. In such moments, we are told to avert our eyes. But what if we do not? What will we discover if we look more closely? If we could speak to the stag, what wisdom would it have to offer? The answer is none. The stag is an animal of overwhelming stupidity, driven only by fear, hunger, and lust. There is no abyss for us to plunge into behind this revelation. Rather, the revelation is as flat and unreal as the plywood walls of a film set.
Find an ancient human artifact. No, znowu jesteśmy tutaj. A spróbuję jeszcze jedno. Obniżyć sobie ustawienia grafiki. Zobaczymy, co wtedy będzie. Nawet teraz spadło. Nie trzyma 60 fps stream. Też sobie zmniejszyłem wszystkie ustawienia graficzne poza rysowaniem dystansu na średnim. To jest piękne. Przez piękne mam na myśli tragiczne. Już na to narzekałem. RTX 3070 Ti Ryzen 5 5600X to nie wystarczy na to, żeby grać w średnich detalach w grę i ją streamować jednocześnie. Ciekawe, czy te przełączniki coś robią. Duet.
There's another one of those monuments.
A, tam jest przełącznik. Okej, dobra. Czyli ten thriller musi pojechać tu. Ziu. Ojej, teraz się nie wchodzi automatycznie. Lepiej będzie, jak ja z tego jammera brać, tam włączać, tego tutaj po prostu sobie zabiorę. A, nie mogę go zabrać. Misa stupid. Może to pomoże, może teraz będziemy w stanie wyjamować. No i w ten oto sposób mamy 2 drillery dla siebie. Bardzo fajnie. Pamiętajmy, że tego jammera tak niespecjalnie jesteśmy w stanie wyciągnąć. Ale nie, czekaj, chyba musimy. W ten sposób sobie właśnie wydżamujemy to. The Progenitor Portrait Series. Hi everyone, this is the latest in my portrait series. I've always had a deep respect for the progenitor Alexandra Drennan. She didn't just create the founder and save humanity, but also tried to instill us with a sense of beauty and wonder. It was good to be human, Alexandra Drennan. As usual, please keep in mind that we should focus on engagement with the work. Don't ask yourself whether it's good or bad, but how it makes you feel. Beautiful work, Rodamne. Gives me a bittersweet, wistful feeling. She must have been a great person. To me, it really captures her bravery in the face of what the cosmos had thrown at her. It's well done, but I'm not sure it's appropriate for us to depict the progenitor in this way. Jaką opcję wybrać? It's important to remember she was a real person. You're right, she was extraordinary, of course, but she was a human being like any of us. I don't think you can say the progenitor was like any of us. That's like saying the founder was like any of us. But they were. That's the point. You're new to this world, so I understand your ignorance, but it would be best if you were a little more respectful. The founder created the goal. She created you. Keep it civil. What 1K was trying to explain, Tekla, was that the progenitor and the founder weren't so different class of being. They were made of the same stuff as we are. That doesn't take away from what they accomplished or how incredible they were. It just means that humans can be truly amazing. Here live the rise of giants. Cool. Cześć Melville. Nic nowego do pogadania? Nic. Passage. To jest trochę dziwne miejsce na stworzenie dziury. Coś jest. Myślę, że na razie zrobimy tak. Hop. Czy tu nic nie ma? A tu na górze jest jammer. Dobra, ale możemy chyba tego thrillera sobie po prostu w taki sposób zabrać stamtąd. Jak teraz jest użyty ten. Teraz musimy wszystko odwrócić. Domyślam się, że sposobem na to, żeby tam był ten muzyczka. Domyślam się, że nie musiałem zrzucać tego fana tutaj, tylko mógłbym z nim polecieć tam i potem użyć drillera, żeby to wyciągnąć, ale nieważne. Kto ma ze mną do pogadania? Jakut.
Hey, 1K, How can I help you?
What do you think the towers are for?
Maybe they're for powering up the megastructure? Or maybe they just open it, like keys. Why? No idea. But aren't they gorgeous? Just incredible feats of engineering?
I agree, they're
I don't
beautiful.
know who built this place, but whoever they were, they must have had a purpose. Making something so beautiful feels like a statement of intent.
That's all. Bunkier.
Looks like you found another lab.
Dosłownie razem przy nim staliśmy Jakut.
Wow, that's a lot bigger than I expected.
What were they doing here?
And who are they?
W ogóle informacja o nowym gizmo, gazebo. Untitled draft. Saint Edward identified the tetramin with the tetragrammaton and the Greek word for God because to him the mathematical properties of the tetramin reflected God's ability to reshape the world without breaking its laws. Elohim, in his desire to impose meaning on the simulation, which was his primary function as storyteller after all, took Edward's heretical ideas and integrated them as the sigils of his name. But despite all these layers of obfuscation, there is some kind of truth hidden in all this. The world really is, in a sense, made up of minute parts that can be combined and recombined without breaking the underlying laws. Everything that exists is made of the same fundamental materials, and those materials are brought into existence by the same fundamental functions of reality. And yet, the miracle of existence is that we are not all one, but are in fact radically different and separate. New Alexandria. From the Book of Reminiscence and Regret by Eustachius. In the early days of our people, a great deal of responsibility fell on my shoulders. There were few of us then, and though we are stronger and hardier than any human, we are not invincible. The world was an overgrown ruin and our resources extremely limited. It was a harsh time, but I felt passionate about the work, fired up by the many sacrifices that has brought us here, from the IAN team to the people of Gehenna, whose code was part of my personality. Bit by bit, New Jerusalem grew. We had to adapt some of the plans Drenan's team had left behind. I don't think they had expected the simulation to take as long as it did, but it was all working. That's when I made a terrible mistake. Thinking it was a way of safeguarding against disaster, I proposed the creation of a second settlement, New Alexandria. As the location was far from the dam that powers New Jerusalem, I attempted to build a thermal power station that would take advantage of a local gas reservoir. However, I foolishly used geologic data from the archive, failing to account for the amount of time that had elapsed. 5 years later, this error led to an accident that leveled the settlement and killed 31 of my fellow citizens. Of all my many regrets, this is the greatest. Eustachius never forgave himself for this mistake. He drifted away, isolated himself from everyone in New Jerusalem. But was it really his fault? Yes, he made a mistake, but why was the entire weight of the New Alexandria colony placed on his shoulders? A simple process of review and discussion could have prevented the entire disaster. Doesn't that mean New Jerusalem as a whole is at fault? He did his best, I feel sorry for him. But the dead remain dead and that has to be faced. Ale teraz mnie zastanawia, czemu ludzie, którzy zginęli w ramach tego 1000 nie są zastępowani. The ethics of extinction. If a species we consider beautiful and remarkable goes extinct, we consider that a great evil. Dolphins, for example. If dolphins go extinct, that's a great loss. If humanity causes dolphins to go extinct, that's a crime. But if Yersinia pestis, the bacterium that causes bubonic plague, goes extinct, is that an equally great loss? If not, why not? To nature there's no difference, it's all just life forms. The only moral framework that allows us to choose between dolphins and the plague is a human one. What about a species going extinct without anthropogenic factors? Extinction is the norm. If one day dolphins are no longer capable of competing with other species, should we let them go extinct? When the sun finally dies and all life goes extinct, what will be a tragedy? If we can prevent it, should we? Will that be a tragedy? If we can prevent it, should we? If you believe that extinction is acceptable when nature does it, but not when we do it, then you don't actually oppose extinction. You don't believe that dolphins are inherently valuable, that they deserve to live and thrive. You just oppose human control. You oppose our ability and responsibility to choose. No ciężkie. The origins of thought. A fragment from Straton's The Origins of Thought as quoted in a commentary by Simplicius of Cilicia. Straton, to say that material things are brought into being by ideas is to flatter ourselves, which is an error philosophers are particularly prone to, because it raises those who think above those who do. Nicomachus. Then what is the truth that does not flatter? That the reverse is true. Ideas are brought into being by matter, and so each man's ideas are shaped by the world that surrounds him, as clay is shaped by its mold. Those who live in mountains fear cold. Those who live in deserts fear thirst. The Athenians are shaped by Athens, and the Lacedaemonians by Sparta, and likewise it is for all peoples. But may ideas, if we take each man to be an idea, not by deliberate action alter the shape of the mold, as you put it? To discover a method for accomplishing this is the chief purpose of philosophy, my friend. Footnotes. The newly discovered Heraclean manuscript, likely a lost part of the Barocci collection, contains an additional passage that differentiates between pneuma, the individual mind or spirit described as an energy arising from matter, and ideas, which are produced by the pneuma as it interacts with the material world. Philosophy is useless if it offers no way of changing things. At least Straton tried and didn't lie to himself. But how can we change the shape of the mold? Straton never says. Perhaps by demonstrating the fact that other shapes are possible. We can't change it all ourselves, but perhaps we could, like Alexander Drennan, create the conditions for change. Noema Projects Trials 108-242, wersja 0.5 deployed successfully, reversion to previous settings fixes malfunction, but what was the error? Cooling systems improved. Trials 243-505, wersja 006, significant improvement to disassembly, new lab space carved out, easy to destroy, harder to create, so easy to optimize only one aspect. Trials 505-719, wersja 007, improvements to synthesis, wersja 008 halted. Insufficient energy for Trials 719-802. I schematics.
The
Coś się
world is a
popsuło.
wonderful place. Every day we take another step forward. Every day we come closer to the truth. The closer we get, the more I can see the beauty of the universe, the intricate perfection of its mechanisms. I am a machine, and the universe is a machine. Every part of me serves a purpose, or I could not be myself. I could not be Miranda, because that specific person could not exist without those specific parts and their specific functions. In the same way, every part of the universe serves a purpose. I think that is what we were meant to discover here.
1K. You just connected to an extremely powerful data stream. Are you all right?
I think I had a
Yes.
vision.
You were streaming. We all saw something. You're lucky it didn't fry your motherboard. Please, everyone, let's be careful with these terminals from now on.
Yes, let's all try not to die. More importantly, who the hell is Miranda?
There's no one by that name in New Jerusalem. I just searched the database.
Must be one of the people who built this
A
place.
new person. Someone we've never heard of before. Someone born outside the city. We have to find out more.
But where did they come from? And how many people does it take to build something this huge?
Like I said, we need to find out more.
Well, you'll be happy to hear that I'm about to fix another part of the transport system. Thanks for the files, 1K. I hope they didn't fry your brain.
No, intryga istnieje, intryga
So
istnieje.
these monuments represent each of the entities. Pandora, the Sphinx, and Prometheus.
Makes sense, I guess.
For a given value of sense.
Eye of the Needle. Aha, okej. Zobaczmy jeszcze, co tutaj jest. O, czyli tak. Tu jest jeszcze jedna brama do przejścia. Źle. Wydaje mi się, że musimy jakoś wstawić ten driller, żeby można było zdżamować tamtą bramę. O, i jednocześnie możemy od razu tego użyć. Tylko pewnie musimy jeszcze naszą, nasz heksahedron. Tutaj właśnie otworzyć sobie bramkę. O! Nice!
I've managed to extract an audio file from 1K's data stream incident. It's hard to be sure because it's just a fragment, but I think it's some kind of log or diary.
We finished a new lab today. Some processes are still harder than others, but energy output was up 2,000%. It's incredible how each leap forward enables another. The next iteration of the machine will...
So as we suspected, someone was experimenting here, but experimenting on what? What was this machine they were building?
Maybe it's whatever powers the megastructure.
Pewnie tak. Mam jakąś nową wiadomość. Touch grass. For anyone who missed it, Byron's expedition has recovered evidence of an existence of another person. Someone not from New Jerusalem. Who could this be? What does this mean? Maybe there's another city out there. Who says there was only one simulation? Maybe there are thousands of people we've never met. I really hope so. There's only one founder. I hate to agree with Tekla, but all the historical evidence we have points to that conclusion. There are some other attempts, but as far as we know, they all went wrong or failed. There's more that we don't know that there's that we know. That sentence is going to make my brain crash. Why do you think Miranda is from Earth? There's no evidence to support that idea. I don't really think it's aliens, Jacques. Everything here is obviously related to New Jerusalem. Could human beings really build all that? It's a bit hard to understand how all this was built, but I don't think it was aliens. You're a little too credulous, 1K. You're such a buffoon, Jax. I don't even know what to say. We'll see if you still think I'm a buffoon when Miranda abducts 1K and starts probing Kier's data ports. So... Seesaw. teraz lepiej. Nie lepiej. Ale coś podobnego. Dobra, nie powiem.
That was extremely convoluted.
No, nie było takie ciężkie. Cześć Alcatraz.
I've been meaning to talk to you. This vision you had, the data stream overload. How did it feel?
It was strangely beautiful.
Having your consciousness hijacked felt good to you?
It wasn't hijacked. I think I made contact with something.
Just don't take this too lightly, okay? We're sturdier than our ancestors, but a mind is still a fragile thing.
I wanted to ask you about something else.
Go ahead.
Tell me about yourself.
Well, I was born when New Jerusalem was a lot smaller than it is now. And there was a lot of work to do. I wasn't really interested in technical stuff, engineering and so on, but I was good at keeping things organized. So I got involved with the administration side of things. Making sure the scavenging teams focused on the right materials, keeping track of our energy usage, that sort of thing. I think we've accomplished what the founder wanted us to, and I'm proud that I helped make that happen. Byron doesn't see it that way, obviously, but I think sometimes he gets so lost in his dreams that he forgets to look at the real world.
Do you consider Byron a friend?
Of course. My best friend, in fact. And someone I've worked with hundreds of times over the centuries. A good person who cares about the world and the people in it. I just also think he's wrong about everything and extremely annoying.
I like that you can disagree and still be friends.
The founder taught us that we must never lose track of other people's humanity, even if they disagree with us. We're all in this together, even if we can't always see eye to eye.
What do you think about the megastructure?
I don't know. It's obviously impressive, but I think we should be very careful. We're dealing with powers we don't really understand.
What does the goal mean to you?
To me, it means accepting a certain amount of humility. Our ancestors thought they could master the world with no regard for any other organisms. They failed to see themselves as part of a greater whole. I think the founder realized where they went wrong and tried to offer us a different path. A path where we have a place in this world, but the world is not ours.
What could these puzzles mean?
Well, puzzles, or trials, as Elohim calls them, were used as part of the process that created the founder, and they're still part of how we're born. They symbolize the human ability to understand the world and solve problems. But nowadays, they don't have a practical application. They are a common motif in the arts, though. The only physically existing puzzles I can think of are in the Museum of the Simulation. So, to answer your question, no idea.
What do you make of the Sphinx?
Whatever that being is, it told us that we stand before the fire. That can only be a warning, and I think we should take it seriously. We don't want another New Alexandria.
That's all. Właśnie, z Alcatrazem jeszcze wcześniej nie rozmawiałem. The New Theology by George Bernard Shaw. The object of the whole evolutionary process is to realize God, that is to say, instead of the old notion that creation began with a God, a personal being, who being perfect created something lower than himself. The aim of the new theology is to turn that process the other way and to conceive of the force behind the universe as working up through imperfection and mistake to a perfect organized being having the power of fulfilling its highest purposes. In a sense, there is no God as yet achieved, but there is that force of work at work making God, struggling through us to become an actual organized existence, enjoying what to many of us is the greatest conceivable ecstasy, the ecstasy of a brain, an intelligence, actually conscious of the whole, and with executive force capable of guiding it to a perfectly benevolent and harmonious end. That is what we are working to. From Lives of the First Companion by Randolph. After these events, Niam decided to consult the writings of the ancients, but while philosophy and religion interested her, it was art in all its forms that came as a revelation. To her delight, she discovered that meaning was not something constructed purely out of logic or will, but that it could be also found in stories, that even when the characters and events of a story were not factual, they had validity and weight as if they somehow were real after all. She was astonished that such a profound experience was freely available to all humans, but concerned that too few took advantage of it. So she set out to enrich the inner lives of her fellow citizens by promoting the arts, starting with the legacy of Gehenna. Niam sounds nice. I would love to meet her one day. She must know more about New Jerusalem art history than anyone. When we do, remind me to explain how to pronounce her name. The default settings in the language libraries are wrong. From the Introduction to Leviathan by Thomas Hobbes. Nature, the art whereby God has made and governs the world, is by the art of man as in many other things, so is this also imitated. So in this also imitated that it can make an artificial animal. For seeing life is but a motion of the limbs, the beginning whereof is in some principal part within. Why may we not say that all automata, engines that move themselves by springs and wheels as does a watch, have an artificial life? For what is the heart but a spring, and the nerves but so many strings, and the joints but so many wheels, giving motion to the whole body, such as was intended by the artificer? Art goes yet further, imitating that rational and most excellent work of nature, man. For by art is created that great Leviathan called a commonwealth or state, in Latin civitas, which is but an artificial man, though of greater stature and strength than the natural, for whose protection and defense it was intended, and in which the sovereignty is an artificial soul, as giving life and motion to the whole, meaning cokolwiek. Lastly, the pacts and covenants by which the parts of this body politic were at first made, set together and united, resemble that fiat, or the let us make man pronounced by God in the creation. It's obvious that Hobbes has read Stratton and is extrapolating the Talos principle to the level of the state. But unlike Stratton, all he wishes for at the end of the day is a powerful ruler to control this machine, to tell him what to do. Zobaczmy, czego nam jeszcze brakuje na tej mapie. Jedno Lost Puzzle, jedno Gold Puzzle i 2 gwiazdki. Gwiazdek raczej nie znajdę. Ale poszukajmy tego Lost Puzzle. loop. Zabierzmy może tego drillera. Trochę bez sensu, żeby tam stał. To na pewno musi być tak zrobione, tylko jak? Jak przenieść tam coś jeszcze? chyba nie prosta zagadka to nie jest. Jak to nie jest? Po prostu głupi. Naprawdę nie było trudne, nie wiem czemu się tak zastanawiałem długo. Tu się świecą 4 kropy. Ciekawe, czy to chodzi o to, że są te zgubione plansze, które są rozwiązane.
We begin with the self because that is what determines our existence as individuals. But the self cannot exist without that which surrounds it. The citizen lives within the city, and the city lives within the cosmos. So now we must apply the principle we have discovered to the wider world and ask, if man is like a machine, could it be that the universe is similar in nature? And if so, what follows from that fact?
Tak. Dwa, 4, 7, 8. Zielony odbiornik.
can't
to
stop thinking about Miranda. A new person not born in New Jerusalem? Can you imagine that? I wonder what it's like to be her.
Probably not that different.
How do you mean?
There's a common
But doesn't our
baseline.
environment influence who we are? Our values, our sense of meaning? You were born into New Jerusalem at this specific point in time as the completion of the goal. Doesn't that affect who you are in a unique way?
We're still all material beings.
I guess I know what you mean. We all have more in common than what sets us apart. They're very different from the rest of these structures in that they serve a clear purpose. Everything else is kind of surreal, but the labs are places where people lived and worked. I don't know what that means, but I think it means something.
Dobra, to zobaczmy, dokąd prowadzi ta druga. Biegnie. Tu byliśmy, nie? Tak. A 2478 pewnie oznacza, że tylko na planszach 2478 i 8 muszą zostać powłączane. Przełączniki. Spróbujmy. Osiem włączone, 7 włączone. Sześć wyłączone. 5 wyłączone. O, jakiś Prometheus Spark znalazłem. Dostałem za to Chica. Ciekawe, co to znaczy. Jeszcze 2 i 4 mają być włączone, a 1 i 3 wyłączone. 4. 4 nie ma przełącznika, co? A tu jest. 4 włączone. Trzy wyłączone. Dwa włączone. O, był odgłos. Znaczy, że dobrze zrobiłem.
Every answer leads to another question. The last answer leads to the first question.
Spoko. Dobra, to nawet wyszło. Zdobyłem gwiazdkę. Wydaje mi się, że wiem, jak zdobyć drugą gwiazdkę, tylko muszę znaleźć odpowiednie puzzle. Mamy tutaj po prostu konieczność kliknięcia tego, połączenia tego jakoś. Może na przykład tutaj się da.
When the first man picked up the first stone, he did not do so to forge a tool. He did so to smite his brother.
Jej, zdobyłem obydwie gwiazdki. No nie, aż mnie kusi, żeby wrócić do East 1 i tam spróbować zrobić drugą. Bo jak na razie wszystko rozwiązuje. Podniosła muzyka. Ciekawe, z kim teraz będziemy rozmawiać.
creature of clay. You have strayed from your garden and entered a domain that is beyond your ken. Turn back now, before you harm yourself and others.
We were invited here.
Prometheus had no authority to summon you. He is rash and foolish and given to trickery, but his schemes lead only to ruin. Therefore heed my warning. The flame is not for you.
We need to know what is going on here for the safety of New
Your
Jerusalem.
desire to protect your city is commendable, but you must remember that knowledge leads to temptation.
How many of those bloody things are there?
I think that was Pandora, which matches the other one being Prometheus.
If it's a security system, it seems to be fighting itself.
Might be wise to avoid getting caught in the crossfire until we understand what these entities actually are.
Zastanawiam się, co by się stało, jakbym spadł. Ale lecimy do megastruktury, chcę ją zobaczyć. O. 2/3. Potem się okaże, że mapa nam zaspoilowała wszystko. Kto by pomyślał?
One K brought up an interesting question earlier. Where did all the tech in the labs come from? So, I had a look at the serial numbers. And it turns out the answer is New Alexandria.
Oh. Wow, I guess that makes sense. After the explosion, the colony was abandoned. Nobody ever went back for all that stuff.
We had enough to deal with. So many dead.
So that's one question answered. But how did they go from scavenged Alexandria tech to all this?
How did we go from nothing to where we are now? Through the application of reason and the right tools.
The plot thickens. Ale ładne.
Look at the size of that structure.
How does the material support so much weight? Is it the same stuff as the other buildings?
Yeah. I know it looks like some type of concrete, but the molecular structure is completely different. Whatever it is, it's a lot stronger and less brittle.
Are the labs made out of the same material?
No, that's just ordinary concrete. Although, it does have some molecular weirdness going on too. Too little variation in the grain.
Ciekawe, co mamy rozumieć przez too little variation in the grain. Tutaj już przełączników nie widzę. Inversion. Laboratoria spoilują kolejne rzeczy, które będą widoczne do użycia.
I think about New Alexandria all the time. But realizing this place was built on its bones just brings it all back even more. We were so optimistic when we started. So full of ourselves. Thought we could accomplish anything. And then, in one single moment, it was all gone. I remember a flash, and then just lying there, realizing that my legs had melted. I tried to pull myself away from the fire, but the servos in my arms were broken. If Eustathius hadn't found me, sorry. Just some old scars.
Jej, walka teraz.
When we go to New Jerusalem, I'm going to have a cat. He's going to be black and white, and his name is going to be Bean. And I'm going to make sure that he never gets sick, and he never gets old, and he'll be my best friend forever.
Serio, moje ziutki, nie macie nic do powiedzenia od razu na ten temat? Dobra. Tak. Jakaś nowa wiadomość. I'm cat sitting Yakut's cat, Bruce, and he keeps peeing on my charging pot. Is there anything I can do to prevent this? Clean it very thoroughly so not a single trace of smell remains. I know it's hard without the ability to smell, but we do have some cleaning agents that should do the trick. Contact me on private if you need a list. Oh, and make sure Bruce isn't distressed by something. Cats don't like being moved from their territory. Maybe it would be easier if you just moved him back to Yakut's place and fed him there. No, Bruce is just a bastard. He loves peeing on anything electrical, chewing on cables, and generally just breaking stuff. This is normal, and I warned you, Pellegrino. I could have given him to Nate. She's used to him. But he's so fuzzy and I love him. Cats. Nie ma tutaj jak roboty, które lubią koty. Nie, połowa ludzi, która kupiła tą grę, jestem zachwycona. Że roboty kochają koty? Nie twierdzę, że nie jestem zachwycony, ale jest zabawne. Comic relief, mocno. From Hypatia's Journals, Volume 1, The Founding of New Jerusalem, Day 42. We broke ground on the first of the permanent structures today, a large hall that will eventually be converted into a performance and exhibition space. My idea! Although for now we'll use it as a workshop. It's strange, this place. There's a lot of open space and I didn't think that it would find it so unusual. But I suppose we all spent more time at the dam than was originally planned. Now it's difficult to get used to not having that low ceiling over our heads. It's probably just me. Byron loves being outside and is always volunteering for scavenging missions. Liv Trassier usually tags along, although he seems more fascinated with observing nature and various weird creatures. At night I sometimes catch myself standing by the door, not because I have guard duty, just watching the stars. It's oddly comforting to think that they always been there, that they watched our ancestors standing where I now stand. From Miranda to 5358 5358. We finished setting up the external site at the lake. The area is so stunning we forgot about the experiment for a while and went for a long walk. The ways in which all the different aspects of nature interact with each other are endlessly fascinating to me, and the sheer variety of living things even on a simple green meadow. Sadly, we then stumbled onto the carcass of a deer that had been torn apart by wolves. It must have suffered enormously, and thinking about that made me feel truly terrible. There's so much pain in nature. Ecosystem engineers. Cutting down swaths of trees for their building projects, thoughtlessly causing radical changes to large environments and forcing local species to adapt to their artificial habitats. These are the traits of a species of intelligent, industrious, and extremely impactful ecosystem engineers. Human? No, I'm thinking about beavers. Like us, beavers transform their environments via building, and their actions have real consequences, creating vast wetlands that some species thrive in while others die. Human activity is very similar. We too are ecosystem engineers, and we too benefit some species while harming others. Everything about this is completely natural, including the damage to other species. After all, that's what competition and evolution is all about. Those species that adapt to the ecosystems we create will, over the coming millennia, become the core of a new biodiversity. And so evolution runs its course. If we don't like the result, if we think some species should be preserved despite being outcompeted, well, that's anything but natural. It is, however, very human. Miranda. It's fascinating how so much of what we do is common in animals but furthered enormously by our intelligence and our ability to remember. Through us, the universe strives to a greater level of complexity. But does the universe have the capacity to strive for anything? We must be careful to avoid projecting human values onto the cosmos. Nie mam napisane kto. Nie, Antony Castor. Nie kojarzę człowieka, a jest Miranda tutaj. There and back again. Szliśmy tam, teraz z powrotem. I już.
Good. Let's get some measurements from this particle cloud.
Kotki latają na tej wyspie. To tam Alcatraz.
What can I do for you, 1K?
What do you make of Pandora?
It's pretty clear to me that she doesn't want us to proceed with what we're doing. I find that deeply concerning. That said, there are clearly other forces at play here as well, so I'm trying my best to remain open to a more positive interpretation.
One of those being called us here after all.
Exactly. But we don't really understand anything yet, and this Prometheus is suspiciously absent, so I remain cautious.
To chyba nie jest kot, tylko lis. Refraction. Było trochę za proste. Paris was an ancient city sometimes called the City of Light, one of the great capitals of the world, home to tradition and innovation alike. It was the birthplace of one of the greatest revolutions in history, the moment that gave birth to modernity in all its glories and horrors alike. The spirit of freedom was born here, although it was suppressed by enemies and traitors, never entirely faded, and it lived on in the minds of artists for many generations. Maybe something of that spirit still remains in us. Czy jestem w stanie z tego się dowiedzieć, o jakie miejsce chodzi? Chyba tak. Ale zostawię to sobie na później. Transposition. Fudge. No i pięknie.
I sent the drone to have a look at one of the other puzzle clusters. It seems they remain inert until they're connected. I uploaded the pictures to the log.
Should we check them out with the VTOL?
Let's conserve fuel as much as we can. There's no point in going there if it's all dead.
Oh, but I wanted to go. Wait, is this thing still on?
O, puzzle z północnej części wyspy, tak? Ciekawe, czy te symbole coś oznaczają. Mam się nimi przejmować, czy nie. Szczwani. Zróbmy to po prostu tak na razie. No, to wystarczyło. O, drugie. Zgubione puzzle. A, tu jest laser. Znowu nie było to jakoś specjalnie trudne. I walk in the garden without fear as stars swirl across the sky, and I stand amongst the tall lilies who lift their faces to the passing eons. Here I will do no harm, and no harm will come to me, for at last my long journey is over and I am at home. Beautiful, makes me feel calm and happy. It's my new favorite of yours, I think, although maybe step by step towards the nightingales might still win out. Let's say that I. The words are definitely beautiful, but to me it seems like a poem about death. I don't think our journey is over. Maybe it will never be over. That's my greatest dream, that all this is just a momentary stop, a place where we rest for a little while before we go on to adventures. Interesting. I always thought of humanity's journey as long as exhausting a search for a home. Homes are important, but we are wanderers, Emesh. We need new horizons, and the more we travel, the more we perceive our homes with new eyes and find more to love. Wow, a response from Byron himself. Thank you for your thoughts, everyone. I really appreciate them. Hidden. Fuck. I już możemy wejść do wieży. Może szybko ten trzeci świat leci. Potrzebujemy zielonego promienia.
The rotting remains of the old world should fill me with melancholy. Even here on this remote island, our ancestors could not escape their fate. And yet, I find there is something pathetic about these ruins that evokes anger and even contempt. I feel it is a mistake to accept this catastrophe with equanimity. What we see here should offend us. When witnessing this triumph of entropy, we should aspire to a warrior spirit, even a kind of hate of the past and its failures that will never allow such a thing to happen again.
Laboratorium. Zobaczmy, co nas czeka dalej.
Every site we've investigated has had one of these labs, but they seem primitive compared to some of the technology we're seeing above ground.
Are we even sure that the labs and the puzzles belong to the same people?
There seems to be a connection between the experimental setups in the labs and some of the puzzle technology.
Correlation does not necessarily imply causation, though.
True. But just because we don't understand the connection, that doesn't mean it's not there. What we have here is two things that reflect each other. We just don't understand how that reflection works or what causes it.
Maybe Miranda can tell us.
O, jakaś grawitacyjna zabawa. Gdzie kolejna? After a lifetime dedicated to the written word, I am faced with a task I could never have expected. Writing an epitaph not only for myself but for my species. In the unlikely event that Alexandra Drennan is successful, and one day someone reads this, what meaningful insights can I share into this strange phenomenon that is humanity? Dajcie mi chwilę. Otworzę sobie okno, bo jest trochę tutaj za duszno. I've spent days thinking about it, but now I'm running out of time, so I'll set down the one thought that I simply can't shake. It didn't have to be this way. With more time, we could have found a cure. With a few political victories, we could have been prepared. Change any factor even by a little and we would have made it. This isn't divine punishment, it's just dumb luck. I'm reaching for something here, but I don't know what it is. Forgiveness, grace, acceptance? No, I hate the idea of accepting this. Hope, maybe. I feel like this story is unfinished. Maybe it should be. No epitaphs for humanity. I pray Drennan is right. Drennan is right. It didn't have to be this way. And yet it was. Fail to load comment. Charon. From 51 Tales by Lord Dunsany. Charon leaned forward and wrote, all things were one with his weariness. It was not with him a matter of years or of centuries, but of wide floods of time, and an old heaviness and a pain in the arms that had become for him part of the scheme that the gods had made and was of a piece with eternity. If the gods had been sent him a contrary wind, it would have divided all time in his memory into two equal slabs. So grey were all things always, where he was, that if any radiance lingered a moment among the dead, on the face of such a queen perhaps as Cleopatra, his eyes could not have perceived it. It was strange that the dead nowadays were coming in such numbers. They were coming in thousands, where they used to come in 50s. It was neither Charon's duty nor his wont to ponder in his grey soul why these things might be. Charon leaned forward and wrote, Then no one came for a while. It was not usual for the gods to send no one down from Earth for such a space, but the gods knew best. Then one man came alone, and the little shade sat shivering on a lonely bench, and the great boat pushed off. Only one passenger. The gods knew best, and great and weary Charon rode on and on beside the little silent shivering ghost. And the sound of the river was like a mighty sigh that grief in the beginning had sighed among her sisters, and that could not die like the echoes of human sorrow failing on earthly hills, but was as old as time and the pain in Charon's arms. Then the boat from the slow, grey river loomed up to the coast of Dis, and the little silent shade, still shivering, stepped ashore, and Charon turned the boat to go wearily back to the world. Then the little shadow spoke that had been a man. "I am the last," he said. No one had ever made Charon smile before. No one before had ever made him weep. Miranda, there is an obvious and perhaps intended interpretation that this is the end of humanity and the last shadow is the last human to live. But another interpretation is equally possible, that humanity has achieved immortality and the last shadow is the last human to die. I prefer the latter. Noema Project Trial 803 version 08 successful. Same problem as with Trial 108, repeated all calculations, same result. Dziwne, weird. Trials 804 do 891. Experiment modified to gain further insights into unexpected error, inconsistent results. Trials 892-937, simultaneous trials affecting each other via unknown mechanism. What is going on here? Ogólnie te laboratoria są trochę spooky. Backward propagation. Dobra, to nie było mądre. Pomyśl trochę. Czerwony, niebieski, czerwony. No to tak. Tu. I tyle. Ojej.
Every one of these clouds seems to contain exactly the same amount of energy.
O. Więcej Mirandy. A muszę w nią wejść, dobra.
There's so much to discover on this island that sometimes it overwhelms me. Every lake, every forest contains an incredible, interconnected, permanently changing network of organisms. And every one of those organisms is almost infinitely complex and contains other organisms within itself. It seems impossible to ever really grasp, but then, step by step, I do understand. It takes time and effort, but it's not impossible. And there's a lot of joy to be found in simply taking the time to truly study something. I spent 5 years studying a single flower, and it never got boring.
Grzejnik. Dobra, ostatnia zagadka poza gwiazdkami nam została do zrobienia. I gotowe. Pięknie, to wszystko jest pociachane. Laserami. Już 6 się świeci. Czyli wychodzi na to, że te drzwi się pewnie otworzą, jak rozwiążę wszystkie zaginione puzzle na wszystkich światach. Dopiero potem będą złote.
Hey, 1K.
What do you make of this, Miranda?
Going on what little we have, honestly, she reminds me of myself when I'd just been born. I came out from the dam at night, and the sky was full of stars. I felt a reverence then, an almost ecstatic connection to the sublime. The universe seemed like a miracle, and to exist within it was the greatest possible honor. That view was tempered in time, but I've always tried to hold on to as much of it as I could.
Tell me about New Alexandria.
We made two fatal mistakes in New Alexandria. One was trusting the texts of our ancestors without thinking for ourselves. The other was giving up instead of doubling down, letting the tragedy define our future.
What do you make of Pandora?
It's clear that there's some kind of antagonistic force in this place, something that doesn't want us to discover the purpose of the megastructure. Perhaps that's part of the testing. Or perhaps it's what's responsible for this state of decay.
What is the symbolic value of these entities we're encountering?
That's a good question. Prometheus is often taken to represent freedom and progress, the ideals of the radical enlightenment. Pandora, on the other hand, usually represents the dangers of those very ideals, so they're counterparts in a way. And the Sphinx is a mystery. Does that mean that these entities correspond to these concepts? Perhaps. They certainly seem to act like it. But Athena isn't the goddess of Athens, and I'm not Robert Byron, although those are the origins of our names. Where does myth end and history begin? We'll have to find out.
That's all. Tu musimy pójść w tą stronę. Serio? Ja wcześniej tego ludka tutaj nie zauważyłem.
Just when I thought we'd found all the weird stuff.
It worked. I made a statue. Well, it half worked. The design wasn't balanced, so it fell over and broke. It was very dramatic, but the good news is that all works in principle. Imagine what we could do using stone, part of the environment, Miranda.
So, humanity is great. I really believe that. And that's why I'm here. But I have to be honest with you, individual people, not always my favorite. I'm not the smartest guy ever, and I know that. But there are some people, man, some people are just so dumb. I don't even know if they're actually conscious. Sometimes I think their whole lives might be like a dream. They're just stumbling around, no idea what's going on, mumbling some random nonsense. And the thing that you have to understand about our time period is that a lot of these people wield enormous power. They run whole countries and corporations. Yeah, that's right. We've handed over our civilization to people I wouldn't trust to tie their own shoelaces. And if they're dumb, then what are we? I don't honestly have an answer to that, so just please try to do better.
To jest chyba jednak trochę obok tego ziutka. Albo nawet trochę przed nim. Gdzieś tu mi się wydawało. Szkoda, że nie można tego obrazka przybliżyć. Chciałbym tak trochę bardziej szczegółowo na niego spojrzeć. No nic, no raczej w tym momencie tego nie znajdę. A już jest 23:20 i stream trwa ponad 2,5 godziny, więc myślę, że na tym zakończę. Dobra. To by było na tyle na dzisiaj. Dzięki wielkie za oglądanie. Mam nadzieję, że było ładnie, że dało się oglądać. Staram się kontynuować streamowanie jak najczęściej, bo jak tego nie zrobię, to zacznę grać w tą grę bez streamów i się skończy streamowanie. Także trzymajcie kciuki.